Good morning and welcome to the Leadership in Insurance podcast. I'm your host, Alex Bond, and I'm very lucky today to be joined by Konrad and Anthony, who are both from GetSafe. Konrad, VP of Product and Data, and Anthony's the VP of Engineering. Gentlemen, welcome. How are you both?
Hello, doing well.
Yeah, doing well. Thanks for having us.
No, not at all. Thank you very much. And we were just discussing holidays, so poor Konrad's been thrown in at the deep end, having come back from holiday and have to go straight into this. So, and I'm going off, so I'll be in this kind of happy, relaxed mode, and Konrad will be stressed about it. But we'll try and get back to it. But just to throw you straight into the deep end, for those people who have been, hiding under a rock and don't know who GetSafe are, Konrad, it'd be kind if you could introduce the GetSafe business.
Yes, happy to. So, hello, everyone. Let's introduce GetSafe. GetSafe is a digital-first insurance company. We're providing digital insurances, targeting a basically target group that's used to having everything on their mobile phone. So we're building insurances that people can buy, manage, and also file claims with their smartphone, aiming to make insurance less painful and more convenient, basically, and more transparent, right? And currently, we're operating in Germany and UK. We started in Germany, have been in UK since around 1.5 years, serving more than 200,000 happy customers, and that's basically it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And your role, how long, just introduce yourself a little bit about, how long have you been with the business, and you're in charge of product and data, and what does that mean to you in that context?
Yes, sure. So I've been with GetSafe for around 2 years now. And I had a short, basically visit to the finance and insurance industry early on in my career, more as a management consultant. Got to know kind of the industry a bit. Then went into more like the product and digital and tech area, and now I'm basically combining both at GetSafe, which I'm happy about. And as a VP product, I'm responsible for product and its development, basically, product strategy, and setting up basically the product teams that we have. So I'm responsible for product management, for product design at GetSafe, and I'm also responsible for the data topics, or the data teams at GetSafe.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks, Konrad. And Anthony, just to follow that up, obviously VP of Engineering, but how long have you been with the business? And is this your first kind of insurance-based venture?
Yeah, so I've been with the company almost a year now, actually. I think I'm at 11 months, like today or yesterday or something. And on the one hand, it feels a lot longer, and on the other hand, a lot shorter. But it's been a fun ride already. Yeah, this is my first stint into the world of insurance, and I've learned an incredible amount, and I think I continue to learn more every day about the intricacies and things where my entire career had been purely tech companies and stuff, where it's a lot of breaking the rules and just doing things kind of from scratch and finding out where, insurance, there are a lot of things we can do better and push the limit, but of course things where there just are some limits we need to optimize for the customer and have to work around the best we can.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's something we're going to touch on. I think really interested to get your views on, particularly working in regulated industries, and the impact of that on the limits to what you can do. I suppose a question for you both, because there's definitely questions that are going to lean towards each of you individually. I'd love to get both your inputs on, is GetSafe a tech company operating in insurance, or is it an insurance company? And just to give another layer to that, what's the difference these days? It's probably the question.
Konrad, if you don't mind, I'm happy to. I love this question. So, I think we all do. We really think of ourselves as an insurtech, right? I mean, and obviously that term's used a lot, but I think what's really important to us is, the insurance and the technology go hand in hand, right? We have to make sure that we are, making our decisions about what insurance products we offer, what our insurance products, provide to the customers, can be supported with the technology, and then we're looking forward how, the technology fits into that. But on the other, as we're making technology decisions, they have to fit for the insurance as well, and make sure they can really let our insurance product shine. So I really do think we work every day to meld the two together, and don't necessarily see ourselves as one or the other. And it's a lot of fun because we can start, like I said, I come from the tech background. We've got people that come more from the insurance background, and it's really fun to get into a room and have the conversations with the people from the different backgrounds, because we find things where it's like, oh, well, I would have come from it from this side, and I would have come from it from this side. But actually, when we can bring the two worlds together, there's an even better solution we can find that's just way better for the customer.
Sure. And Konrad, is that a shared vision? Is that the way that you look at it as well? Because I'm intrigued to see if you both look at it the same way as well. Because it sounds like there's a healthy discussion about the way people look at the business. Is that sort of fair observation?
No, totally. And actually, Anthony and me are discussing this topic quite a lot and try to reflect on it. Because also, like, to be honest, it's sometimes it's a challenge. One of our challenges to find the right balance between both. But I totally believe that we need to have this kind of healthy balance between both sides, basically. Because also, like, from a more product perspective, what I think we're doing in the end for the customer currently, it's mostly reducing complexity that's currently in the business, and making it more transparent, more simple to use it, right? So we're not the kind of company like innovating insurance itself, but rather the way that people actually can use insurance, right?
Sure.
And this is all about reducing this kind of complexity into really like making really long and painful workflows in the old world, like with one click. This is all about reducing complexity, and you need to be able to understand this kind of complexity and understand the rules and maybe policies attached to that to be able to reduce it, right? So it's really important that you have a deep understanding both of the insurance world and also regulatory stuff that's attached to it, right? And on the other hand, about possible shortcuts you can use with the tech basically that's available nowadays. Combining both, I think, is the right way to go. Yes.
And does that mean that people with inside the business, do you think people think about the business differently as individuals? Just some people think they work for an insurance company, some people think they work for a tech company, some people think they work for an insurtech. Is there a sort of or is there a kind of top-down, very clear vision about where you see yourself, do you think?
I think there's a pretty clear vision. Of course, different people are more focused on one part of the business or the other, but I mean, I think there's a pretty clear vision of how GetSafe comes together.
Sure.
At least from all the people we talk to most days. So
yeah. And I think like key is to basically to cherish both sides, right? So I think the tech side, everyone is excited if we build a very nice looking, very nice basically product for user or features for user. Everyone is excited, right? Also all of the insurance people side, everyone gets this kind of excitement, basically evaluating that we're like a tech company and a user-centric product company. On the other side, in like at the core of what we do is we're providing safety and coverage for people, and we're also able to basically cherish that we really make a difference in people's lives, right? That's the insurance aspect, because we're basically covering risks that maybe people can't control or are really painful if they don't have a coverage. That's like more the insurance aspect, and that's really cool, right? People often forget when thinking about insurance that we're solving, like insurance is solving a real problem and not only trying to make money from people. And that's actually pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I was smiling as I was saying that because I've worked in the industry since I graduated and worked in the insurance industry. And I distinctly remember going to, I think it is quite cool now, because if you say you work for an insurtech, you get to say it gets that kind of tech edge. But I distinctly remember being at a party with my friend who's a musician, and everyone was either in music or film, and they were like, "What do you do?" And I went, "Oh, I'm a headhunter in insurance." And let's put it this way: I had a very empty table next to me. But I think if I'd said, "Oh, I work with people in the tech industry," it is kind of more interesting. But I suppose with that comes I think when you talk about tech, we're almost hand in hand talking about innovation, because good tech is always about kind of how can we do things better, faster, cheaper, quicker, and leaning into that slightly, I wanted to find out, this isn't a question that I'd kind of sent over to you, but I'd love to kind of understand how it works for you. How does product interact with tech? And how do you make that relationship work well? Because it sounds like that's the key component really here is the creation of good products, and then on the execution side of that, how from your side does that interact, and then how do you think that relationship works best? How do you create that kind of harmony to make that effective?
Yeah, I think, and by product in this case, you mean like insurance product side, right? Or do you mean technical?
Well, actually, should we tackle that? We can tackle that question second. Let's actually go back. I'm gonna revert, but I won't cut it out. I'll be professional, leave it in. It's a podcast after all. I'll ask you this question then. It was on the thing. Like, how do you guys think about product versus how insurance companies think about product, or insurers, traditional insurers? Do you think? Yeah.
So I think, and I'll let Konrad chime in on this too in a second, obviously, as a VP of product, right? But I mean, that's, the technology side. But, we think of kind of the product and engineering side of things, right? Our area as the platform for the system, right? We make the insurance product possible, but we do differentiate a little bit between kind of the technical product versus the insurance product. But Konrad, I'll let you add a little more color to that.
Yeah, totally. So I think it's I think in the end, we are and want to be a user-centric company that solve a user problem. And I think the problem behind different insurances is the underlying problem is the same. So and the needs might differ a bit between insurance products, but are pretty much the same, right? That's why, as Anthony said, like, we differentiate between, yes, insurance products, but also product as being basically this umbrella, this platform in terms of technology, but also experience that lets you basically add and operate different insurance products in a similar way, right? This makes it both like a scalable and smooth user experience, but also a scalable tech platform behind like adding different insurance products.
Yeah, I think that user centricity is something that we've been missing from insurance, and it seems to be most of the kind of insurtechs. That's the driver. It is. Because the one criticism that's been thrown at the industries kind of traditionally is that we sell insurance rather than build the right products for people. So I suppose to rephrase my question I said earlier, I suppose I'm talking about tech from that perspective, because I'm intrigued about where product ends and tech takes over, and how that relationship towards building great products works in a company like yours.
So I'm going to start, just Anthony jump in. But I think what we try to do also in basically operate product and tech, we try to, I think for us, it's basically two sides of the same medal. So we try to always, in the end, solve a user problem, a user need. And what we try to do is basically setting up teams, like trying to tackle down the big problem of insurance, basically, into smaller problems, and then having teams being able to solve those smaller problems basically on their own, right? And then like a team who's able to solve one of those smaller problems definitely needs like a product manager and engineers, but also might need a designer, might need a data person and stuff, right? And that's where we try to be then agnostic in terms of which department belongs to, but it's really like a team solving this problem. And whoever has the idea, right? Of course, there are different roles in the teams and responsibilities, but it's all about having the best idea on how to solve it in the end, whether it's through like superb design or like a shortcut in technology or whatever, right?
And Anthony, from your perspective, kind of, how do you create that kind of right communication to kind of make that really kind of efficient? Because I'm particularly interested at this point in time, the way Teams works changed over the last 2 years very dramatically. You've joined in the last year. Be interested to kind of see, maybe, have you made any changes to kind of make that kind of realizing products more effective? And how does that kind of work best for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we follow kind of a fairly standard team model, I think, in the tech world, which is, we use Scrum, and we have what we call squads, right? The engineering team is broken up into these squads that, as Konrad mentioned, work closely with the product team, right? And that's something where there was a team set up before I joined as well, and a lot of it had been based on kind of how did things work when everybody could just be sitting in the same room all the time, right?
Yeah.
And when I did join, I kind of looked and said, hey, how can we maybe reorganize this so it also works a little bit more effectively remotely? And that's kind of how we ended up with this model. But like I said, it's a model that's pretty standard. There's the Spotify model and different things, right? It's all pretty similar. And a lot of it is just about things Konrad's already touched on, right? Close collaboration, and good communication, and the squads, they have daily stand-ups, they have weekly planning meetings, and they're constant communication on Slack. But there's not really anybody like sitting on formality, right? If somebody needs to talk to somebody, they message them, right? And in general, one of the things that we really try at GetSafe is that we don't stand on formality or title or hierarchy, right? If a junior product manager needs something from me, he comes and asks me, right? He doesn't doesn't need to think about it. And I think the same goes in all directions, right? I tell my people to go ask a VP from another department something if that's the person who has the right information. It doesn't have to flow through me, and I think that helps a lot, right? Just not standing on that formality and being open to communication.
I think why I'm interested in this, and it seems kind of a very standard structure, but where I'm interested in this is because of the audience is kind of, we've got a mix of kind of incumbents and particularly kind of newer businesses, and I think what I see is a struggle to shift towards a kind of more modern way of working and modern way of communicating. Like a business like yours was probably able to respond much more quickly and much more effectively to something like a pandemic. For a long time, insurance has said, for example, you can't work remotely. And when you had to work remotely, funnily enough, it worked, but they weren't set up for that. So I wanted to ask you actually, Anthony, particularly about your team, the tech team. And I know it's maybe a bit difficult. It might be a difficult question for you to answer. So, I understand it because you don't come from the world of insurance, but having worked inside GetSafe for a little while, where do you see the kind of difference in your tech team versus a tech team in an incumbent insurer? Are the profiles different? Is it in the structure than the way that you kind of manage the team, or any other observations that you have around that?
Sure. Look, I can't speak to what things look like exactly inside of incumbent insurers. I mean, I've heard certain things, but I don't have firsthand knowledge, so I can't speak to that. What I can talk about is what we look for and want from people, right? And I think one of the really important things, and I think that's something that I do hear about from incumbents, but also just other large corporations and things, is right. Our engineering team, our product team, they're not a service team, right? It's not something where people just send in, hey, go build this thing for me and come back in 6 months and have it done, right?
Yeah.
It is, oftentimes the projects are coming from our side, right? And we're approaching the other teams and saying, hey, here's this thing we want to do. It'll make everything better, in the product or wherever. Or we're saying, hey, we need you to go make changes in the insurance product itself so that we can better serve the customers in the app, right? And the engineers, the product managers, everybody is part of that solution, and it's very collaborative, right? It's not some insurance person who's been working in the industry for 50 years comes over and says, go build exactly this, and no questions asked, right? It's a process. So I think that's one of the most important things, and to that, right, the people we hire for the team need to be problem solvers. They need to be self-starters. They need to be creative, right? And obviously the main focus is maybe programming often, but a lot of it is we want people who can take the complexity of insurance and boil it down to simple and elegant and scalable technical solutions, right?
Yeah.
They're people who are supposed to be thinking ahead and like I said, be part of the solution, not just implementing somebody else's solution.
Yeah, absolutely.
May
Please.
Yeah, maybe if I can add to that, because I think this question is closely related also from my experience in the finance industry to the role of a product manager, or sometimes called product owner. Because what I mostly saw is that there's a role called product owner mostly, which is especially with like finance incumbents that I saw, that is mostly someone who's doing stakeholder management, like asking for requirements and organizing requirements, and then doing project management and organizing the backlog, right? But I think that is this is will always lead to a non-agile, waterfally a system in the end, and that's definitely not how we see the role of a product manager. For us, the product manager is someone who basically him or herself has a strong idea and vision of the specific problem, how to solve the specific problem that we set, basically, or the product area that we set, or the person is responsible for, and then is able to, of course, like lead the team towards that. But it's way less about just getting requirements, organizing them, and way more about finding like structuring the problem and finding the right solutions to it, right? So it's way more user and business driven than I'd say a classical product owner role.
Yeah.
And I think, sorry.
No, please, no.
One more thing to that, right? I do think, kind of speaking of, incumbents too, right? We have seen people who've joined GetSafe, right, who do come more strongly from the insurance background, who at first they experienced kind of how we're doing it, and they were like, wait, this is not what I'm used to. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And after a fairly short period of time, they saw the benefits. Of course, it's maybe a little bit more back and forth than they're used to, but they see that it actually can help, move the entire product and business forward. And I think that's been really positive, because I think there have definitely been people where their first reaction is shock, and then once they kind of have been with GetSafe for even just a few weeks, they see, oh wow, this is a really great way of doing it. At least from what I've seen. Maybe they would tell it to you differently. Yeah.
That's not what they're saying behind your back. So, no. I think that's understandable. And I suppose leaning into that question, you touched on people coming from the insurance world, and Konrad, maybe I can lead with you on this one. And I appreciate product. We talk about product on a tech perspective and an insurance perspective, but how important is insurance experience to your teams? Is it an absolute requirement, or have you reached a certain point where the traditional insurance experience is kind of less relevant to you now as you're kind of maturing as a business? Just that insurance experience, I'm kind of wondering how much that's required.
Yeah. So to be fully honest, I don't have like a definite answer on that yet, right?
No.
But from my experience, it is important to have an idea, or to get an idea of how insurance works. Definitely, yes. But it's also important to approach things with a certain naivety, right? Because otherwise, what I saw too often, like people being basically bound to what they already experience, kind of the rules of the game at incumbents, and that's not what we want to have, right? I think, and that's what we mentioned before, this kind of balance. Yes, we need to know like the hard rules, regulatory rules that they are, yes, definitely, and they often, like, it doesn't always seem like, but they often make sense, right, overall. But also we need kind of take the shortcuts, right? And you need to have be like open-minded about that and approach it from a green field, basically, right? So in the end, like, a balance is important, of course, also throughout the product. This might be different. For example, if you work in someone working in the like claims part area of the product, you should know what a claim is and how that works, right? If you work more on the like marketing part, it might be more open, right, to experiments and new things.
Sure.
So there's no definite answer. A balance also is important, I guess.
Yeah, sure. And Anthony, obviously you've hired some people with some insurance backgrounds. Presumably that's been beneficial, but have you found some of the same constraints, like some of the thinkings, or maybe that just speaks more to individuals than their experience? It's more that certain individuals adapt easier than others. And but I'm wondering if have you seen a sort of trend of struggle to kind of adapt to new ideas?
I think a requirement to work at GetSafe is being being open to adapt to new ideas, right? I mean, that's something we hire for, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a concern we've had at all, right? I think it's often some of the stuff Konrad touched on. We have to is approaching it with kind of a fresh perspective, because I think there are things that are regulatory required, and there are other things that are convention, right? And yes, just everybody else in the insurance industry does it that way, but that doesn't mean we have to do it that way, right? Or let's understand why it's done that way and see how can we do it better, right? And I think overall, I mean, at GetSafe, everybody, I think if you work at GetSafe, you want to be a part of improving these things, right? Otherwise, you're probably working at the wrong company, right? The whole intention is to make insurance better. So I think everybody's on board with that mission.
Yeah, no, completely. It's really interesting for me to talk about, because obviously most of the time I'm talking, to talent constantly, and my particular niche within the recruitment industry is finding people that work in the incumbent industry that are going to want to come and work for the insurtech industry and add value from that context. But it's really interesting to talk about how they value their own experience, and sometimes have to have really difficult conversations saying, look, that experience is only provides X level of value to a company. And actually, once you get in the door, I'm very conscious that you have to have more than that. You have to bring more than the knowledge of that, because we're talking about smart people. They'll learn about claims if they need to, and they come from zero-based knowledge. Someone can learn about claims, but it's that kind of protectiveness that everyone has about their own job. If someone turns up and says, I reckon I can learn your job really quickly, it's disconcerting, and you to get defensive, and I think that's just natural for anybody. But I'm always interested about kind of how much is kind of required, and I think a balance is clearly that. We talked about licensing. How has getting a license to be a sort of full stack insurer, how has that changed things for you, and maybe requirements, and maybe I don't know if that's kind of more fair to be towards Konrad, because Anthony's been with the business 11 months, but yeah, has sort of getting license changed anything for you, and the requirements for your team?
Yeah, maybe to like a quick disclaimer, we're a very short time before actually having the license, right? So we do not already have it, but of course we already build and are building everything that we need to operate under our own license. And I think we will have, and we already see advantages of having that from a pure business perspective. I think just participating also in advantages that we have in the whole like loss ratio regime, right? It's just like from a business perspective, good to have it in full responsibility. But talking about like product and in the end benefits for our customers, I think there will be benefits, and I expect, and we already see that. Let's take two examples maybe. One thing is being flexible and quick to react on changes in customer needs or the market with regards to insurance products, right? So the ability to iterate on insurance products itself is very important. We saw that in the history, and yes, it's possible also in like with partners, right, in the MDA setting. But we're pretty confident that we can be way faster if we have it all under our own control, right? And we can basically, because we do have the tech capabilities, we can launch a new insurance product within minutes, literally, right? Just pressing a button and it will be there. Everything works automatically. We do not depend on any third-party systems or basically partners that need to sign that. That's definitely one benefit that we see, which of course also makes us more cost efficient in the end. Right? So it's both a user customer benefit and a business benefit. The other part that I see is mostly around claims experience, where I think having an own license gives you full control of this part of the value chain, which basically let us steer way more towards a superb customer experience. Also in claims, because I think that's in the end what insurance is about, right? I mean, it's sometimes weird because people people buy an insurance product, like a policy, and in the best case, they never again speak to their to the provider, right?
Yeah.
But in the end, it's all about being covered and someone compensating for when something happens. And I think this kind of moment of truth, it's critical to have a very good experience there. We have all that it needs. We have like a digital channel, our app. You can file a claim in the app and everything. But I think being able to, especially in operations, control the whole process there, settle the claims the way that we think is right. This will add like a big value to our customers.
Yeah, no, completely. That's I think it's a super exciting time, and I think you're absolutely right. I think the thing that we talk about is that kind of self-determination and moving quicker, and it just kind of removes that kind of friction. I wanted to talk to you about something that I thought was quite exciting, mainly because we don't get to talk about hackathons very often on the insurtech, the Leadership and Insurance podcast. So I know you guys have just sort of done one recently. So I want to hear all about it, and in the most kind of like, why do one? How does it, for the people that don't know what one is, what is it, and how does it work in the context of how you put it together? And I suppose the timing was interesting for me as well, because it was fairly recently, wasn't it? It was only it was fairly recent as well. So
2 months ago,
yeah, 2 months ago. So Anthony, perhaps you can kick us off. What is one and why do one, and how did it work for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so and this is a topic I'm super excited about. So glad you brought it up, but. A hackathon, I mean, to an extent, it's a little bit of a broad thing, right? It can
sure.
be done in lots of different ways, but basically it's, you take some time away from kind of the normal work, the normal roadmap, and you work on building some stuff quickly, right? And that's what it is, right? And, what our focus was the whole product engineering, data and design team took, I think it was 2.5 days, and basically everybody could just form their own little teams and work on whatever they wanted, right? And when I say whatever they wanted, I literally mean whatever they wanted. We had one person who did a podcast actually for a couple of days, where he was interviewing different team members and then broadcasting it during the hackathon.
Oh, nice.
So that everybody could listen and hear, people's stories and different things, right? We had one team that worked on a game. We did have teams who actually worked on GetSafe relevant things, but that wasn't the goal, right? The goal was have fun, be creative, work with some people you don't normally work with, and maybe learn a new technology or a new skill or something. And so of course, a lot of people ask, like, well, why would we do something like this, right? We've got so many things to get done, limited time, right? What's the benefit? And the reason is it's first of all, it's just a lot of fun for everybody. It's really great for team morale. I think everybody came out of it very excited. The timing on this was also particular because basically we used the first opportunity we could, where we were allowed to have the entirety of the team actually together in the office. We weren't able to get quite everybody together, but we were able to, and that was really exciting. I think we actually got up to like 30 people together from the team, which was really, really exciting because a lot of the people had never met each other in person, right? There were people who worked for me who I had never met in person, right? Which, in the past would have been unimaginable, but now is, a common or more common occurrence. And it was really great to have everybody together, and it brought a lot of good energy together. And one of the kind of side effects of it is, I think people after so long working from home were like, oh yeah, I'm only want to work from home. I'm happy in my kind of cave or whatever. And one of the things we've been pushing for, because we think it's really the right balance, is hybrid, right? Where people can be in the office or work from home, kind of depending on the needs of the day. And I think one of the things that resulted from the hackathon was people really felt that benefit again. They felt the benefit of coming together in a room, feeling the energy of your teammates, and just being productive and stuff. And that was really great. There was amazing energy. But yeah, the other thing that comes out of it is just great. It's like a mini think tank too. So it's a lot of good ideas, things you can do in the future, improvements to our technical infrastructure, et cetera. So lots and lots of benefits. So
yeah, no, it sounds fun. I mean, I talk about this kind of obviously working in talent. We're talking about people. Everyone's come and said, I want to work remote only, and I think some people do. I mean, there's some people who literally work better. My partner, she's much more effective but I'm a sort of blended individual. I mean, I get energy from people. I need to be around people. I think if it's too much, and I think that blend is quite difficult to get right. I wanted to dig into that. So you've got all these people. I know that originally the team members were kind of relocating to Germany. That was kind of the talent pool when you hired people. But have you both got remote elements of your team now? You've both got remote team members, and is that? I wanted to sort of discuss what impact that's had on your kind of talent pool, because obviously it broadens it out. But now remote working is more. Are you finding there's more competition for the same talent now as well? Because now you're competing against any company in the world, whereas it might have only been European companies. So yeah, if you could both speak to that. I don't know if that's impacted you differently.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely impacted us. So we do have a few people that are fully remote, nowhere near our office. The model we're kind of settling on is basically, kind of a hub model, right? So where everybody we have, even if they're remote, is near an office, right? So they have an option to, but we have people who we partially hired just during COVID, and just in general, we found great talent where we said, nope, it's fine for them to be totally remote. And overall, that's been, fairly positive, right? And it's fine because we have this hybrid model, right? Like actually today I'm at home, Konrad's in the office, and that works out. Yesterday we were in the office together, but in terms of talent, it's definitely increased the competition. I mean, I think that's overall what we've seen. I think it's kind of, we were already hiring a bit remotely before, but now we've definitely seen that other people kind of caught on, if you will. And that's definitely added a challenge. But it's definitely an interesting position to be in, because it opens up our pool, right? Where we say, we're looking for all these people, and we can convince people, hey, look why GetSafe is awesome, and why you want to be part of our mission and work here. So it's a little bit of each.
Yeah.
I totally agree to that. And I think the last point Anthony mentioned is exactly what I wanted to say. Like it forces you even more to get the story right, why people, like what our mission is and why people should work at GetSafe, right? Which maybe was not that necessary before. Like to tell my very personal story is I've been into consulting lots of years, many years, traveling around, and I was sick of it. I do have 3 little children, right? And I wanted to settle. And here in Heidelberg, basically, you won't find that many startups, or not many companies with such an environment but also ambition, right? Especially tech companies. So it was kind of a more easy call for me, right? Because it was local, basically. But this kind of advantage, natural advantage, it disappears, and you need to be clear about why should you work here at GetSafe, right?
I think there's one thing that I've kind of observed for a long time. It came really clear with me. I had some young team members who were working for me, and they were sort of 23, 24, and we'd go and see businesses, and they'd come away and they'd sell really hard on what they thought was great about the business. And I think what the pandemic has done, and the kind of it's brought some humility to the recruitment process. So people who are recruiting now have to really think about what's in it for this person I'm hiring, and not just what do we think is great about GetSafe, what do our teams think is good about GetSafe, what would people coming in be attracted to come and work for GetSafe, whereas previously it may have been, we have a view, and then you risk missing what the reason for someone to come and work for your business. Because using these guys as an example, Jacob, who was sort of I think 23 at the time, would come back and go, they've got a breakout area and a football table, and they've got free snacks, and I'm like, I don't want any of that. I'm nearly 40. I don't care. I've got a football table. It's just like I want a good career and progression opportunities and development. And it's been really interesting to kind of turn that mirror and go, okay, what can we offer people that's going to make them come and work with us? I've shamelessly set that up for a pitch. So I feel like I would be amiss if I didn't let you have that. So why should someone come and join the GetSafe journey? I'm going to give you that opportunity. Anthony looks raring to go.
Anthony,
he looks ready for it.
I'm happy that I appreciate it, right? Because definitely we are hiring in lots of different roles, right? But I mean, I think we've touched on a lot of the things already during this chat, but we're in just a really exciting phase at GetSafe where we have this massive problem insurance, right? Which I mean, a lot of companies have been tackling for literally hundreds of years, and we're trying to reinvent it in many ways, and it's a huge opportunity, and it's a lot of room for innovation, and that comes with it. Really exciting business problems and challenges to tackle, and also technical opportunities, right? Where we're literally every day solving problems where it's like, well, probably nobody's had to figure this out before. Let's see let's see what we come up with. Right. And that's super exciting. And, we have already an incredible team. I think everybody at GetSafe, I think if you ask them what's the best thing about GetSafe, their first answer will be the people. And that's absolutely true. And it's really important to us as we're hiring to make sure we have people who really fit in and want to strive towards the same goals. So, it's just a really exciting opportunity, and everybody should apply and join. So,
yeah. Konrad, anything to add? Are there any good snacks?
we do have good snacks, both healthy and non-healthy, and good drinks around. So definitely there's a football table.
We've got it all.
We've got it all.
We got it all. No, thank you guys. It's really kind of you to spend some time with me. I've really enjoyed it. I think it is a super exciting business. I get shamelessly nerdily excited about people coming on the podcast, and this is one I was really looking forward to. So I really appreciate your time. Konrad, Anthony, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Cheers, guys.